there's a couple things. All right, so the disease that I have is called Lyme disease.
Yes.
And I mean, my body has it and my mind has it. I don't have it, you know? but it definitely has it. And I've had it. It's been affecting my body and my mind. My body's 62 years old almost, and it's been since like age 24.
Right.
And it has a lot of symptoms. The most common outcome for people with the most common cause of death for people who are actually diagnosed with it is suicide, because it's got so many problems, and it's people scorn you because they think you're lying.
Yeah.
Because it's invisible. I don't look sick to you. Right?
Yeah.
Right. So they think you're lying, you're lazy, they get mad at you. And what I noticed was, I was thinking about this last night, was I basically been abused and mistreated from the beginning by my family, by other people. And they never understand, and they get mad at me. Landlords get mad at me because I can't handle, I don't function. There's an expectation by healthy people that everybody functions at a certain level of intellectual or reliability, ability to like lift things and do things, emotional stability, all that stuff. And we don't have that. We're weak, we're exhausted, we have brain fog. I'll probably sound clear and strong to you. I don't know why I sound like that, honestly.
Yes.
But it's partly I've learned to cover it up.
Yes.
Because I got so many people. I mean, one person told me, anyway, I don't want to go into it, but it's been so hard in the last 5 years. Have just gotten worse and worse with being treated really badly by landlords, having to leave acupuncture school, losing all of my career, being unable to play music. I mean, what's happened is that everything that I enjoyed about life is gone. It's all contained. Okay. So, like parallel with that was, and I don't know exactly when this happened, but at some point, Sri Ramana came into my life.
Right.
And it wasn't immediately a turning point. Then I went to Ramana ashram, and was pretty blown away by ultimately what was most amazing to me was the silence. Like I would meditate in the caves, and I didn't really know much about it, but there was just the sense of stillness there that was remarkable. I mean, undeniable, remarkable, and life-changing, really. Not that it immediately took effect, but I just learned too much about everybody, is what happened.
But did you learn about yourself?
Yeah, right. I learned about all the fake parts of I learned about, like I learned so much of myself was just lost, Yeah. Right. All my projections. I have no idea who these people really were,
Yeah. No, what I meant by did you learn about yourself? I'm not talking about yourself as a person, but what
yeah, I learned that right. I learned about the silence.
Right.
Really is what I learned about.
Yeah.
Strangely, I felt the same thing in Jerusalem, where Jesus was. It was a very similar, but that was more of a compassionate energy.
Yeah.
But I felt with Bhagavan, I learned about the silence and the stillness and the unimportance of most of what I had been seeking. Make sense?
Yeah.
So I don't know why I'm telling you this whole story, but in the end, I just kept doing self-inquiry, even though I didn't know what I was doing. I just kept doing it and doing it. And it was very irritating, really, honestly, because I couldn't. But then sometimes I could actually get to a level of stillness. But the self-inquiry, I started doing it, and it started really working after all those decades.
Yeah.
And then I've been really focused on it, you know, for a while. And then recently, what's happened is that I was doing it like all the time because I was in so much suffering and pain, and I began to really feel it myself. I mean, who the I who felt it's, you know, that's it. And then it was helping. Like it was really, really helping to quiet. It was helping a lot. And then, but I wasn't really getting any better physically. I was just able to tolerate it more.
Yes.
Right. So it got stronger and stronger. But there was still the mind part and the body part, which was an absolute misery a lot of the time. Getting sicker and sicker, treated like shit, you know, running out of money, not having enough money for medicine, almost not enough for food, you know. And yet, so the reality of me continued, you know, was getting stronger. Okay. So then I started to notice it really, I started to, you know, do the thing where you look for it here, you know, that spot that Bhagavan talks about, you know, and I felt it really strong there, but also, and I couldn't really, I don't know, it was hard to explain. But then in recent times, things have gotten much worse. But what's happened is that I sense this, it's not I sensing, I don't even have words for it, but there's the awareness is non-local. It doesn't really have a place anymore. It's still and quiet and perfect, and I don't really sense a lot of love or, you know, it just feels very still and peaceful and awareness. But then I noticed that I have a sense of I in my chest, and I was thinking, so the question I'm getting to here is, I'm thinking that the sense of I is that not that Bhagavan teaches about.
Yeah.
That's blocking. Do you know what I'm saying? You know, that not, that's it, that.
Yeah, I know Bhagavan talked about Chitjada Granti.
Yes. I'm very bad with the words because of my brain. But
yes.
Yeah. So, like, why do I feel the I here? And yet I also feel like this awareness that's not anywhere. Or it's sort of everywhere, but not anywhere. I don't understand that.
Yes. That's also not clear to me. Because if by awareness you mean what is aware is only I. So awareness in that sense is inseparable from I. But
okay, right.
When you find it is located in a place in the body, that is, the body is an object. Every place in the body is an object. When Bhagavan mentioned this point, 2 digits to the right from the center of the chest, he did so because Bhagavan used the term both in Tamil and in Sanskrit, or he used various terms that mean the heart. The heart is obviously, the sense in which Bhagavan used the term the heart is the center, the core.
The core of everything, of being.
Yeah. So that heart is what we actually are. But Bhagavan's teachings, though he expresses them in a very simple way, they're actually very deep and very subtle. Yeah. And not everyone understands them, is able to understand the subtlety of Bhagavan's teaching, the depth of Bhagavan's teaching. So some people their minds are so outward going, but when Bhagavan talks about the heart, they at once think in terms of a body. Where in the body is the heart?
Which I don't really think. I don't really believe that anymore.
But Bhagavan has said, heart is I, and it's also that in which everything is contained. I mean, it cannot be something localized, particularly not in the body. It is only in relation to the body that this point, that Bhagavan referred to this point, because it's very simple. That is the point at which we feel ourselves to be centered in this body. I mean, anyone, when they refer to themselves, if they point to themselves, we always point to that place.
In me?
And also it's, I mean, we can see there are so many examples. For example, if you're walking down the street and suddenly a car comes behind you and honks its horn, or you suddenly hear an explosion or something, you get a shock. Anything that gives you a shock, if you observe, you will feel a sensation here. So that is relative to the body. That is the center in a sense. But this is our aim in self-investigation is to separate ourselves from this body. The problem is, as you say, this knot. The knot is chit-jhana granti. That is the now we experience ourselves not just as I am. We experience ourselves as I am this body. Right. I am is what is aware. The body is jada. It's not aware at all. But no, we mistake this body, and by the term body, when Bhagavan talks about body, he's not talking just about the physical form.
Yeah,
he's talking about all the five sheets. So these are all objects perceived by us, but we mistake these objects to be ourselves.
Yes.
There's that identification of ourself with these objects, which are all jada, that is what is called chit jada granti. That is what we actually are is chit. What we mistake ourselves to be is this jada body. And what binds them together as if they were one is the chit jada granti. That is ego.
Okay, I get that.
So when we are investigating ourselves, we are trying to isolate I am from all these adjuncts. So anything related to the body or anything related to location in physical space is an object. It's something other than ourselves. We are just that which is aware of all these things, that to which all these things appear. So we have to separate ourselves from these things. So yes, sometimes we do get sensation in the right side of the chest. Even sometimes when we're going a bit deeper within, we feel something there, but we shouldn't allow our attention to dwell on that, because that's only a distraction. It's an object. It's something other than ourselves. Our aim is to attend only to ourselves.
Right. Okay, I get that. So then when I experience that awareness and silence, it isn't localized anymore.
No.
I don't know who's experiencing it exactly.
The deeper we go within, the more we are separating ourselves from all phenomena. Then the idea of location, I mean, any experience we can describe that has any relation to, anything that we cannot describe the awareness I am.
I get that.
We all know what it is we know that we exist and we're aware of our existence, but that cannot be described in any way.
Right. That's why I'm using these words
So people who describe their experience of self-investigation are not actually describing, they're describing the distractions that occur. But anything that can be described is only a distraction. We need to go deeper and deeper within. We need to go beyond all these distractions.
Right. I understand that. Then what is it that what is that silence? That it's like a silence or something, of presence or something.
The silence Bhagavan talks about is our true nature. It is not something that comes and goes.
Right.
Any silence that appears and disappears is something more superficial than the real silence, which is what we actually are.
Right. So
we need to,
okay.
that is anything that can be described in any way, anything that can be grasped by thought or described in words is something other than ourself. So we need to go deeper and deeper. We need to, we need to go beyond all experience, because what we are investigating, we are not interested in experience, in any experience of any kind. We're investigating the reality of the experiencer. So we have to go beyond all experience, so to speak. True, that state of pure self-awareness is sometimes called an experience, Atma-vichara, the experience of oneself. But that is an experience quite unlike any other experience. It's not an experience that can be described in words. It's not an experience that can be, it is something beyond the grasping power of the mind.
Okay, yeah. Right, so then, well, what it sounds like is then I've made no progress at all. It sounds like I'm just like,
we cannot know what progress we're making. That is, in a sense, there's no progress to be made because we are already
understand
there.
That we're already realized.
But when we talk about spiritual progress, the change that is taking place in us as we are undergoing this process of self-investigation, the change that is taking place is a weakening of our Visaya Vasanas and a strengthening of our Sat Vasana. Visaya Vasana means an inclination.
Yeah, I know these.
Yeah. So Visaya Vasana is our inclination to experience anything other than ourselves, whereas Sat Vasana is the inclination just to know and to be what we actually are. So our progress is the only progress we can make is by strengthening the Satvasana and correspondingly weakening the Visaya Vasanas. This is what is happening. If we are following this path correctly, this will be happening. It may not be perceptible to us because the Visaya Vasanas are otherwise described as the impurities in the mind.
Right.
But as the mind becomes purer, we are able to see the impurities more clearly. So it may seem to us that we're even worse than we were when we started, but that is because our perspective has changed. Because as our mind becomes purer, we recognize the impurities more. They stand out more glaringly.
They're more granularly.
But moreover, it is not our aim is not to gauge our spiritual progress. Our aim is to know and to be what we actually are.
Agreed.
We are already that. So let's not worry about progress.
Okay, let me tell you why. Let me explain why it comes up.
Yes. Okay.
Besides the obvious reasons, which is
yes.
ego and more impurities and confusion.
Yeah.
Which is that I'm in my body and mind and my life is so chaotic. I'm in such misery that it's hard to tolerate being alive.
Yeah.
Like it's almost impossible to imagine what you can't. You can't. And do you know anybody with this disease?
No.
It's considered worse than any disease. I mean, they've done studies. So part of me is being driven by, I can't take this anymore. I just, and I keep, and strangely, I mean, in terms of progress or what, I wouldn't call it that. Because of this work that I've been doing, I've lasted longer than most people have with the level of disease and societal bigotry, and cruelty than most people. Most people just die of suicide because they can't take it, and so I'm looking for a release from this.
The release you're looking for is here and now. You can experience it here and now to the extent to which you turn your attention and sink within. That is, there is a... Bhagavan has offered us a refuge. That refuge is always available to us. That refuge is just the state of just being, the state of self-attentiveness. That is our refuge. Because to the extent that we are self-attentive, to that extent our attention is withdrawn from all other things, all pain, all, everything. But so this gives us tremendous strength to bear with life, because I understand, but your condition is a particularly intolerable condition. But we all go through, to a greater or lesser extent, difficulties and problems. Life is not easy. The nature of embodied existence is there's so many problems that embodied existence entails. So we are drawn to this spiritual path because we understand but no solution within the realm of this embodied existence is going to be there's no solution out there. The only solution is within ourselves. That's why we're drawn to the spiritual path. And to the extent that we go within, we are thereby shielding ourselves from everything outside. Everything outside means not only the external world, not only the body, the mind, the vasanas, everything. So
hold on, let me shut a window. There's a noise.
Okay, yes.
Excuse me, sorry to interrupt.
No problem. So if we're following Bhagavan's path correctly, we shouldn't be thinking in terms of achieving anything, of some goal that lies ahead of us. What are we? Who am I here and now? It's only here and now that we can know what we are. So we should be so focused on ourselves in the present moment, because of course, if you're thinking of past or future, there's something other than ourselves. So we need to be so focused on what is here and now. What is here and now is only I am. Everything else is constantly changing. Nothing is actually in the present moment, in the exact present moment, that is, people talk about being in the present in a very superficial way. Yeah. They take it, attending to whatever is happening is being in the present.
Right.
What Bhagavan means by the present is something much, much deeper. If we analyze time, what is the present moment? The present moment is an infinitesimally fine interface between the past and the future. That is, one split second before is past, one split second ahead is future. So what is that exact, precise present moment? It is such an infinitesimally minute moment. It's a moment with no duration. Only the duration is required for any change to take place. In the precise present moment, there is no duration. Therefore, there is no change. Therefore, what exists in the present moment is only I am, because I am alone is what actually exists. Everything else is a passing appearance.
Not the word I am, but the experience I am.
Yes. When I say I am refers to our existence and our awareness of our existence, which are one and the same.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah. So it's not the words. I mean, all the words used by Bhagavan are pointers, because the truth he's pointing at is beyond words. But what is the truth he's pointing at? It is ourself. We are that. So our focus needs to be on ourselves. The more our focus is on ourselves, the more we are withdrawing ourselves from everything else. So if we go deep enough within ourselves, no pain, nothing can touch us. If we are touched by these things, it means we are allowing our attention to come outwards and be swayed by our vasanas. So we need to go more and more within. I appreciate that your condition is a very intolerable condition, but the very intolerable nature of your condition is actually a very strong motivation for you to go within here and now.
I understand that.
Yeah.
It's and it has caused me, because I found, that things help a little bit or don't help, or, I have to follow a very rigid diet. I have to do all these things, but I'm still subject, or my body, mind, the jiva, I don't know what else to call it, is still subject to so many problems, way beyond. I mean, nothing like someone who's being tortured every day in a prison cell. It's not that bad, but it's very close, because the pain is constant. So sometimes, I guess I hear what you're saying. I fully cognitively understand what you're saying.
Yes.
I completely understand it cognitively. Where it's troubling is that I don't know how to explain it. It's like I'm aware that one can only be realized because everything is the self. Cognitively I get that, and sometimes I get that sense.
Even to say everything is the self.
Yeah. Well, it's a conceptualization. It's a concept. I understand.
Yeah. I mean, but even that. So long as we're aware of everything, so long as we're aware of multiplicity, so long as we're aware of anything other than ourself, that is all only in the view of ourself as ego.
And I agree. And so I'm in this position where I'm very limited in my ability to, obviously I'm not in a sever nirvana or samadhi.
Yes.
I'm just in this constant state of, how do I deal with, I just, and that's why the lack of progress, meaning I'm just suffering and suffering and suffering and suffering. It just feels very futile and very painful.
Yes. That is the problem we're all up against, whether we have a condition like yours or whatever our condition is. The real problem is our Visaya Vasanas.
No question.
In spite of all the trouble we undergo, our mind still has so much taste to go outwards to experience this world, in spite of all the misery it gives us. So we have to cultivate this Satvasana, which we can do only by patient and persistent practice. When we fail, that is when we yield to the Visaya Vasanas and get carried outwards, then we experience pain and everything. And it seems very hopeless. But the only solution is to go back within, to persevere in this. I'm not pretending it's easy. It's not easy for any of us, because we all have strong Visaya Vasanas. That's the nature of ego. Visaya Vasanas are the very nature of ego to have Visaya Vasanas. So, but there is no shortcut. This is the only way.
So then, if what I'm doing self-inquiry and turning inward, and all I'm experiencing is more mental phenomena,
then you're not turning inwards, because the mental phenomena are all outwards.
Well, you're saying that
you may be turning inwards to a certain extent.
The silence that I'm experiencing is mental phenomena. The sense of I is mental phenomena.
Sense of I is not. That is in its basic condition, that awareness I That is the reality.
Oh, well, that I experienced.
It's mixed with adjuncts. That's the problem. When it's mixed with adjuncts, it's ego. But by clinging just to that, what you call the sense of I, what I would call the awareness I am, the awareness of our existence, by clinging to that, that is what will lead us back to our source. That is our source, and it's also
even though it may appear located in like in my chest area, that's an impurity.
Yeah, because you're still, your mind is still going out, but the body is something external to ourselves. Everything other than that fundamental awareness I am is external to ourselves. So when Bhagavan says leaving external phenomena, the mind knowing its own form of light, that alone is true awareness. We have to leave everything, the body, the mind, the world, the pain, everything has to be left. And how to leave it? We leave it every night when we fall asleep. But so that is, though it's necessary to leave it, it's not sufficient. What is required is, as Bhagavan says in that verse, the mind, that verse 16 of Upadeshundya, the mind knowing its own form of light. That means our attention has to be turned within, and we need to be clinging just to that fundamental awareness I am. Okay,
so that, there's no question that I can experience it. It's not that I experience it. I don't know how to put, that sense of I is very real for me.
Yes. I mean, we are experiencing it every moment. The problem is, because we're allowing our attention to go outwards, that awareness I is mixed up with, mixed up with awareness of other things. We are trying to isolate that awareness I from all other things by focusing our attention only on that.
Okay, so then the only thing to focus on, even though there's impurities within it, is that sense of I.
Yes, because though the impurities seem to be within it, actually, it is, when we go deep, as we go deeper and deeper within, we go beyond the impurities.
And by focusing on the I, that itself is purifying?
That is the most purifying of all. That the most effective means to purify the mind is to focus on.
That is happening. That is happening.
Yeah, right. Then you are making progress.
Oh, okay.
just persevere in that.
Okay.
But
that makes sense. Okay, I understand.
Yeah, I mean, people look for silence, look for this experience, look for that experience. People have an idea of what it is that they're looking for. We are not to look for anything. What we are trying to look at that which is ever present. What is ever present is only I am. Everything else is passing.
And that's a pointer and not a phrase.
Yeah. What the word? I'm not talking about the words I am. What the words I am refer to.
I get that. I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
So then, when
if I say to you, eat an apple, I'm not asking you to eat the word apple. That word apple refers to something. Likewise, the word I am refers to something. That to which the word I am refers, that is what we should be attending.
Well, the figure pointing to the moon.
Yeah. All words. Particularly in Bhagavan's teaching, they're all pointers, and they're all pointing. If we understand Bhagavan's words correctly, they're all pointing in the same direction. They're all pointing back towards us,
to the I.
Yes,
not
the I,
not this I, but
I myself. Because as soon as you say the I, you're objectifying it. You're reifying it. It is you. It is not the you. It is you.
Right. Right. Yeah. That's. Well, it is relaxing.
It is.
Yeah.
It is the ultimate relaxation, the deepest of all relaxation in the very deepest sense of the term.
Mm.
Because to the extent we are holding on to I am, we are letting go of everything else. And letting go of everything, that is true relaxation.
Yeah, 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 it's it became clear in that moment. Well, this I could do forever. I mean, I'm not doing anything.
It's though we say doing, it is not doing, because to the extent that we do this correctly, to the extent that we are self-attentive, the I that rises to do anything subsides.
Subsides, right. So that's what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Is that,
yeah.
That, yeah. So, I mean, I don't have anything to say. I have some questions that my mind has, my ego has. Yeah, this is good. This is whatever this is.
Yeah.
It's very good. Well, let me ask these questions.
Yeah.
Let my mind.
Before you ask, can I just say something? But what Bhagavan has given us is an extremely powerful weapon. But we need to understand correctly what is, and everyone talks about self-enquiry, but more and more I come to recognize from talking to people, and sometimes people send me links to videos. People have a very, very superficial understanding of what Bhagavan is talking about. It's not that it's difficult. It's not that it's complicated. What Bhagavan's talking about, it's extremely simple. But people complicate it. So we have to have, in order to follow Bhagavan's teachings correctly, we need to have a very deep and subtle understanding of what he's talking about.
Yeah.
It's pointing only at ourselves. All these other words people use, like you made a mention of Samadhi. All these terms are just distractions, because Samadhi is just a description of some state. It may be a term used to describe different types of state, but we are not looking for Samadhi. We are not looking for anything other than, who am I? What am I here and now? So it's only I we need to focus on, not on anything else. Whether, let it be called Samadhi or whatever name's given to it, doesn't matter. That's all these descriptions can often serve to be more of a distraction than anything else.
Yeah, I was thinking
that is why Bhagavan,
Samadhi is what I was thinking.
That's why Bhagavan focused on this. Who am I? Just focus on that I. To whom does all this appear? His entire focus is only on ourselves.
Well, there are no words to actually put into.
I mean, Bhagavan has pointed us in the direction as clearly as we can be pointed, but we need to understand what he's pointing at, and we need to go in. That is where we need to direct our attention, only back towards ourselves, not towards anything else. We're not looking for any new experience. Bhagavan said, if we're not here to gain anything, but to lose everything.
Right,
it's not anything new he said, if jnana were a new experience, it would be lost, because whatever comes has to go. Jnana is what is ever shining in our heart as I. We are that. So it's only clinging to ourselves.
Yeah. I do know what you mean now.
I mean, this was said so clearly in the old texts. For example, in the Upanishads, they have what are called Mahabakiyas. All the Mahabakiyas are pointing exactly at this. You are that. I am Brahman. Pure awareness is Brahman. This Atman itself is Brahman. All these are pointing our attention back towards ourselves, but people miss the point.
It's just because the mind is so, the vasanas, Visaya Vasanas are so strong.
Yes.
That it seems like the mind conceptualizes the reality and turns it into something.
Yes, yes, yes.
Which it isn't.
No.
Yeah.
What we are seeking
well, I would
is
say
nothing
it's
other
simple,
than
but
ourselves.
it's not easy because the Visaya Vasanas are so strong.
Well, according to Bhagavan, nothing is easier, but it seems difficult to us because of our Visaya Vasanas. Visaya Vasanas means we don't really want this. We say we want it, but actually we still have so much taste in going outwards. See your condition. You, in spite of all the torment your body and mind are undergoing, you still have a taste to go outwards. This shows the strength of our Visaya Vasanas. So because and the Visaya Vasanas, they're not something other than ourselves. It's our inclinations to go outwards, our liking to go outwards.
Well, it's not really ourself, it's our ego.
It's our ego. The Visaya Vasanas are not the ego. It is ego who has the Visaya Vasanas, the ego who has this inclination, this taste to go outwards, this liking to go outwards.
Which is the nature of ego.
It's the nature of ego, yes, yes.
I see. Well, what happens
But what we have to investigate is not the Visaya Vasanas, but whose Visaya Vasanas are they? The attention always has to be back on ourselves.
Right. Right. That seems really clear right now.
Yeah. It is very clear. It is very simple, but our mind keeps on complicating it unnecessarily.
Of course. Of course.
But if we have tasted if we have really put this into practice and experienced the power, that is it, if we've experienced the power of what Bhagavan has, of this tool that Bhagavan has given us, then we are faced with, if I'm not doing this, it is only because I have too much liking to go out. So slowly we have to be, firstly, we need to recognize what is this tool that Bhagavan has given us. And then slowly, little by little, we need to apply it in order to extract ourselves from these Visaya Vasanas, to cast off these Visaya Vasanas and cling to that which is real. Because none of these things are real. Even the Visaya Vasanas, they're not real. They're the seeds that create everything else, but they are not real. No. What is real is only I am.
Well, it seems kind of obvious right at this moment.
Yes.
I don't know how that happened, but anyway. Well, I guess there's a question that keeps arising that I guess I should ask, because it keeps arising.
Yes,
so I'll ask it.
Yes.
Which is that, there's this whole, my life is just in this dream that I appear to be in. There's like this endless chaos. It's just. It's surreal,
Yeah.
It's much worse than what most people go through, but not worse than, say, someone who's Black and living in a ghetto. And I mean, I'm sure it's very, I'm not saying that anyway, it's very chaotic, it's very painful.
Yeah.
And what's happened is that I wanted to have faith. I've been wanting to have faith in Bhagavan, that I'm going on this journey with a train and I can just put my luggage down and let the train carry me. That metaphor he uses?
Yes.
Right. It's just that it gets so hard all the time because my brain doesn't really work. So I'm constantly making mistakes and people are, that I don't really have faith that somehow things are okay. that things are okay. How does one have faith in this external dream that we're going through? That somehow there's a force, there's a benevolent force which is taking care of us when things go so badly for so long. It's so crazy for so long.
Yeah, that is all the troubles we face for the person we seem to be, and for ourself as ego who take this person to be ourself.
Yeah, agreed.
In the center of all this, in the heart of all this, there is one thing which is ever untouched by these things, and that is I am. The more we cling to I am, the more our mind is purified, and the more our mind is purified, the more we recognize what is. And right. what is not only Sat, it is also Chit, it is also Ananda, it is also Priyam, infinite love. So the most effective way to gain that, to gain the faith you refer to, is by putting what Bhagavan has taught us into practice. As we put it into practice more and more, the mind is purified and all these things become clearer and clearer and clearer. Even the very difficulties we are undergoing, even the pain and the torment, is the result of his infinite love for us. Because he doesn't want us to suffer. I mean, our very rising as ego is itself suffering. There may be different degrees of suffering, but the very rising of ego is suffering. Yeah. Because as soon as we rise as ego, we're dissatisfied. We're constantly seeking happiness.
Right.
But we ourselves are that happiness that we are seeking, but we're looking for it outside, away from ourselves. So whatever difficulties we may face, whatever chaos there may be around us, whatever torment it may be, it's all given to us for our own benefit. It's true to accept this does require faith, but that faith is something that will come only to the extent that it's not just a verbal faith. It's not just I believe in one God, the Father Almighty, or whatever they say in churches, and it's not that type of faith. It is something. It's a deep clarity. That clarity comes to the extent to which we turn our attention back towards the original light, the light that illumines all this. That light is what is shining in us as I am.
Mm. So then how does one deal with the situations that arise? One has to do something, like I have to...
You don't have to do anything. So long as you think you have to do something, you're carrying the luggage, your luggage on your head. All you have to do is let go of everything. Hold on to I am. That's all you need to do. You see the context in which Bhagavan gave that analogy. He gave it in the 13th paragraph of Who Am I? What he says in the first sentence of that, he defines what is self-surrender. Being Atma-vichara. Atma-vichara means one who's firmly established as oneself, not giving even the slightest room to the rising of any thought other than Atma-chintana. Atma-chintana literally means thought of oneself, but it's a way of saying self-attentiveness. So in other words, what he implies there is being so keenly self-attentive, but we give not even the slightest room to the rising of any other thought, that is giving ourselves to God. Because that paragraph is about surrender.
Understand the concept.
Yeah. Right. So then in the next sentence, he says, because our immediate response should be, okay, fine, to attend to myself so keenly that I don't give room to any other thought. But I have so many other responsibilities, so many, I have to do this. I've got a family I've got to look after. I've got to do so many things. We take it, but we have so many responsibilities. So Bhagavan says in the next sentence, however much burden you place on God, he will bear it all. In other words, forget about all your responsibilities. Leave them all to God. Because, as Bhagavan explained elsewhere, whatever is to happen is going to happen. And whatever you need to do to make to experience whatever is to happen, you will be made to do those things. So we can leave the entire burden of our external life, all our responsibilities, everything. We can leave it all to God. Because, okay, you have a responsibility, it may seem to you, to take your medicine. Because if you don't take your medicines, you're going to suffer and you'll give trouble, even more trouble to other people also. So you feel you've got a responsibility. I have to take my medicines. That is not your responsibility. Your only responsibility is to cling to I am. If you are destined to take those medicines, your body and mind, let them take their medicines. It's the body and mind, but the pain is for the body and mind. Let the body and mind take the medicine. Leave that to in the hands of Bhagavan, because he can make the body and mind take the medicines that they're supposed to take. So you leave the entire burden to him. Then in the next sentence, he says, when that one Parameshwara Shakti, that supreme ruling power, power of God, is driving all karyas. Karyas means whatever is meant to happen, whatever ought to happen, that all those things are being made to happen by that one supreme power. So knowing when this is the case, why should we, instead of yielding ourselves to it, be constantly thinking it's necessary to do like this, it's necessary to do like that? In other words, Bhagavan is absolving us of all responsibility. We don't have responsibility to do anything other than clinging to I am. And then in the next sentence, he gives the analogy of the traveling in the train. The train is carrying all the burdens. Put your luggage aside and travel happily. Don't carry your luggage on your head. All our feeling that we have responsibility, feeling that we have to do this or we have to do that, is all carrying the burden on our head. Thinking any thought at all about anything other than ourselves, in other words, attending to anything other than ourselves, is taking the burden back on our head.
Right. Okay. Right.
So though it's said in the context
of you take it back on your head, like right now, I just got a text from my landlord, it's been endless problems since I moved in here.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen now with this crazy landlord? So what does one do in that case? I want to look at the text, figure out what to do. What does one do?
Let the body and mind look at the text and figure out what to do. Your responsibility is to cling to I am. If we are serious about this path, we need to have such single-mindedness of purpose. Our only, what Bhagavan clearly indicates in that paragraph, as in so many other places, our only responsibility is to hold on to I am. If you hold on to I am, everything else will be taken care of. If you don't hold on to I am, everything else is going to be taken care of. If it is your destiny to pay the rent, somehow or other the rent will be paid by you. If it's your destiny to be unable to pay the rent and to be evicted, that will happen. Leave it all to Bhagavan. Let him take care of all these things.
Okay, so I get the concept. It's just the amount of pain that I suffer. Like when I moved, it was so much pain.
Yes.
And then I moved into this place which is moldy, which is making things worse, and the landlord's bad.
Yeah.
So it seems like what Bhagavan wants from me is a lot of external suffering and problems. Is that possible?
Because Bhagavan doesn't want to cheat you. supposing he were to give you a comfortable life, supposing there's tomorrow some treatment is found for your condition, and you're restored to so-called normal health, and you get a good job, do your dream job as a filmmaker or a musician or whatever it may be. Everything's going favorably in your life. If Bhagavan gives you all these things, he's cheating you. Because these though you may get temporary satisfaction from experiencing these things, that satisfaction is an iota of the infinite satisfaction that is your real nature. So Bhagavan doesn't want to give us Bhagavan doesn't want to shortchange us. He doesn't want to give us anything less than our own real nature, which is infinite happiness, love, etc. So whatever troubles we undergo are given by him to help us, to motivate us to cling more and more to I am.
It's hard. The ego finds it hard to accept.
Yeah, because we don't want to accept it. Because we don't want. That is what Bhagavan is. That paragraph is such a deep paragraph. What Bhagavan is asking us is to let go of everything. Hold on only to I am.
Right.
That's why he begins the paragraph with the word Atma-chintane tavira vera chintane kalamba vitiku satramidum kadamal. That except the thought, except Atma-chintana, self-attentiveness, not giving even the slightest room to the rising of any other thought. That's how he starts the paragraph. And the whole of the rest of the paragraph is only support for that. In other words, he's asking us to let go of everything, let go of all our cares, all our concerns, cling only to I am. I know it's easy to say this. When it comes to putting it into practice, it's not so easy because we still have strong tastes to go out with. We don't yet have sufficient love to cling only to I am. But if at least we can understand that that is the only solution to all our problems, then we will begin moving in that direction. However slowly, doesn't matter. So long as we've recognized what our goal is, what our aim is, and we are moving in that direction. Bhagavan has said there is not an iota of happiness in any of the things of the world. He's not just talking about the material things of the world. That is, sometimes he talks about the external world and the internal world. Our mind is another world inside. So none of the things, either of the external world or of this internal world, there's not an iota of happiness in any of them. Happiness lies only in ourselves. We are that. So we have to cling only to ourselves. Anything other than ourselves, anything that appears and disappears, cannot satisfy us.
Right. So then when, I just got this text and it looks like there's a whole new problem arising with the landlord. And the body feels anxious and my mind is sort of distracted. What do I do?
Cling to I am.
Cling to I am.
What your body and mind are to do is already determined. As Bhagavan said in the Bhagavan, are you familiar with the note that Bhagavan wrote for his mother?
Yeah.
That is, in the first sentence of that, he said, the approximate translation, according to the destiny of each person, he who is for that, meaning God, being there, being in each and every place, in the heart of everyone, Atma-vichara will make them dance. So your body, speech, and mind will be made to do whatever actions are necessary in order for your destiny to unfold.
And then whatever emotions or thoughts arise, that's all part of that destiny?
Not necessarily, because that is, Bhagavan didn't say all actions are driven by that, because our body, speech, and mind, these three instruments, are being driven by two forces. One is destiny, or the will of God, we could say. The other is our own individual will, all our vasanas. If we allow our attention to go away from I, we get caught up in our Visaya Vasanas, and they prompt us to act. So Bhagavan didn't say all the actions of the body, speech and mind are driven by God. He said those that are necessary in order to experience prarabdha. That's why he said, according to the prarabdha of each one, will be made to act accordingly. That is, in order to experience our prarabdha, supposing it's your destiny, something your body, speech, and mind have to do in order to solve this problem that you're now faced with your landlord. You don't have to bother about that. If you cling to I am, your body, speech, and mind will be made to do it. Even if you worry yourself about it and try and think of solutions, your body, speech, and mind will be made to do whatever they're meant to do. You may be trying also to do so many things by your body, speech, and mind. All those efforts are futile. So leave everything to him. That is, he is driving everything. Anything that is driven by us is just perpetuating our suffering.
Okay, so does that mean then that there are things that I did in the past that were driven by the Visaya Vasanas that were completely unnecessary, that created more suffering? Or
they create more suffering in the sense they don't cause anything to happen to you.
Oh, they
cause suffering by coloring your
on a psychological, right?
Yeah.
So then okay, that's finally beginning to make sense. So then, therefore, whatever did happen could only have happened because it was divine will.
Yes.
What didn't happen could only not have happened because it was divine will.
Yes, exactly.
So then
that's what Bhagavan said in the next two sentences of that note to his mother.
Right.
What is never to happen will not happen, however much effort you make. We are constantly making effort for this or that.
But it's futile.
It's futile. The only effect is we increase our suffering. We don't change anything that happens.
At a mental, psychological level.
That's why Bhagavan said, leave the entire burden to him. And how can we leave the entire burden to him? Only by clinging to I am. Because if we allow our mind to go out, we are not leaving the burden to him. It's only by giving not even the slightest room to the arising of any other thought that we are truly leaving the burden to him.
Right. And where I am in my situation, thoughts arise. I don't have that level of control.
Bhagavan said, what does it matter however many thoughts arise? As and when each thought arises, if you vigilantly investigate to whom do they arise, it's clear to me that is, Bhagavan isn't us. People mistake that. People give a gross interpretation of that. People take it. They're waiting. When's the next thought going to arise? Oh, to whom is this thought? To me. They take it as a questioning. Bhagavan isn't asking us to question who am I. He asks us to investigate who am I, investigate to whom it appears. So what he says there, these are pointers. That is, whatever may appear, whatever we may experience, we should turn our attention back to ourselves, the one to whom it appears.
I see. And that's where the peace comes in.
That's where the peace comes in. Because I am is ever peaceful. Because I am is not touched by any of these things.
Right.
It's only the ego which identifies itself with these things that suffers.
I see. Because what's going to happen is going to happen no matter what.
It's going to happen, yes.
Is there a reason why I have to know whether or not I'm causing something to happen, or Bhagavan is, or is it a different that makes no?
You cannot know. One thing you can be sure: if you allow your mind to go outwards, if you allow your attention to go after any thought, any vasana, you are starting the process of yourself interfering. That is, all actions begin from thoughts.
Right.
It's thoughts that give rise to words and body action.
Right.
So we have to nip it at the bud.
I see.
Nip the poison at the bud. That's why Bhagavan says in the 11th paragraph of Nāṉ Ār, he says, as and when thoughts appear, then and there it is necessary to annihilate them all by vicharana in the very place from which they arise. So in the very place from which they arise, if we cling firmly to I am, we are not giving room to the rising of any thoughts. So that is annihilating them in the very place from which they arise.
Right. And if our ability to cling is not as strong because of our Visaya Vasanas.
Yes. The solution is given by Bhagavan in the 6th paragraph. If other thoughts arise without trying to complete them, it is necessary to investigate to whom they have occurred. However many thoughts rise, so what? Big deal. Doesn't matter. He just said what, but that implies what does it matter, or so what?
Yeah, right.
As soon as each thought appears, if one vigilantly investigates to whom it has occurred, it will be clear to me. If one thus investigates who am I, the mind will return to its birthplace. Its birthplace means the source from which it rose, which is ourself, our real nature. And therefore, since there's no one to attend to it, the thought that had risen will also increase. And then he says, when one practices and practices in this manner, to the mind, the power to stand firmly established in its birthplace increases. So the only way to gain the power to not be swayed by our vasanas is persistent practice.
Mm. Okay, so then when a thought arises, we follow it for a while. As soon as we become aware we're following it, we just go back to...
Yeah. Ideally, you don't even begin to follow it. But if you do begin to follow it, as soon as you notice, you turn your attention back to yourself.
Right. And the idea being that all these things are predestined and there's nothing to be done about any of them.
Yes. And another important thing to understand in this context, when Bhagavan talks about thought, people think of mental chatter as thought. Bhagavan uses thought in a much broader sense. According to Bhagavan, the whole world is nothing but thoughts. That is all perceptions, memories, any kind of mental impression, mental phenomenon is a thought. So anything that appears is a thought. So so when he says if a thought appears or arises, he means if our attention is distracted away from ourselves towards anything else, we immediately have to turn it back to ourselves.
Right. It doesn't mean that the world and the sense of a body will disappear automatically. It's just we're turning our attention back to the source of all of that.
Yes. Well, to the extent that you attend to yourself, your attention is withdrawn from the world, and the world exists only when you attend to it. That is, perception of the world is the nature of the outward turned ego. When ego turns within, it is withdrawing itself from this, from the perception of the world. And the world doesn't exist independent of our perception of it.
Right.
It's all just a dream.
So the fact that I'm aware of talking to you and this room and that text and all that, that's my Visaya Vasanas looking out.
Yes. Everything we experience is a projection of our Visaya Vasanas. Visaya Vasanas are the seeds that give rise to all phenomena, all Vishayas. Okay.
So then our work isn't complete until the world disappears?
Yes. Bhagavan says that very clearly in the 3rd and 4th paragraphs of Nāṉ Ār. Until perception of the world ceases, Swarupa Darshana, that is seeing our real nature, cannot arise.
It just seems impossible. It just
we are able to withdraw ourselves from perception of the world every night when we fall asleep. It's so easy when we're too tired to continue dreaming.
Right.
We stop dreaming and fall asleep. It seems difficult because we give so much reality to all these things.
Right. Okay. Right. I get that.
But according to Bhagavan, what is real is only I am.
Right.
Everything else borrows its seeming reality, its seeming existence from the real existence of I am. Or Bhagavan explains this more precisely. That is, all other things appear only in the view of ego. So they seem to exist only in the view of ego. So they borrow their seeming existence from the seeming existence of ourself as ego. And ego also doesn't really exist because it appears in waking and it disappears in sleep.
Right.
So if it appears in waking and dream, disappears in sleep. Anything that appears and disappears doesn't actually exist, because if something actually exists, it must always exist. So right. Ego also borrows its seeming existence from something else. What it borrows its seeming existence from is from a real existence of I am. So what is real is only I am. Everything else that seems real borrows its seeming reality only from I am.
Okay.
So Bhagavan says, cling to what is real. That is only I am.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I get that. I get that. I get what you mean. And why should I trust this? I mean, I don't mean to be, with all due respect.
Because you know very well from experience that the state in which the mind goes outwards is an unsatisfactory state.
No question.
There's no question. So when the mind sinks within in sleep, is a perfectly satisfactory condition. There's not an iota of dissatisfaction in sleep.
Even when I'm doing vichara, there's a much greater measure of, however incomplete it is, yes. There is a measure of increased peace and stillness.
Yes.
Acceptance.
Yes. So the more you practice this, the more you turn your attention within and hold on to I am, that is, what is the light that is illumining all this world? The original light. The physical light illumines physical objects, but what is the light that knows that light? That is the mind. And what is the light that illumines the mind is only I am. So I am is the original light. By turning our attention back towards I am, we are, so to speak, bathing in light. We're bathing our mind in light. The more we bathe in light, the more clarity we experience, inner clarity. And in that inner clarity, the faith will come automatically, because it will be very clear to us that what is infinitely benevolent.
Well, that I have a sense of. I have a sense of it.
Yes.
But it almost feels benevolent but uncaring. I mean, that's what my mind interprets it.
It is not a personal love. It is an impersonal love. That is, Bhagavan loves each and every one of us, but he doesn't love us as the person we take ourselves to be. He loves us as himself because he sees us as himself. So we expect love to be, we think in very small terms. We think of love as between two individuals.
Well, or that a loving force wouldn't create an endless amount of chaos and intolerance and pain and suffering and poverty. That's more where I was going.
Yes, but again, as soon as we begin to think like that, we are putting the luggage back on our head.
Yeah, no, I get.
Yeah.
I mean, I see the cycle that's going on.
Yeah.
Right. So how can we infer? You said the reason to trust it is because when we're at sleep, we're at peace. And that when we're in vichara and bathing in the light of the self, we experience more peace. I don't have another word for it, really.
Yeah.
Stillness or whatever.
Even that peace if we are experiencing the correct peace, that peace is not something other than ourselves. The peace we are seeking is the peace that is our own real nature.
Yeah. I get that. So even though there's impurities in that peace, like, the imagination that the I is here, the light is still bathing us and purifying us.
To the extent to which we are holding on to I am, not allowing ourselves to be distracted by anything else whatsoever.
I see. Okay. Which again is challenging because of the Visaya Vasanas.
It is challenging, yes, but there's no shortcut. That is, it's we who have cultivated the Visaya Vasanas, and we must undo the mess we created for ourselves.
And the we meaning is the ego.
Ego, yes. That what we really are, that the I am in its pure condition is never touched by any of these things.
Right.
Is neither a cause nor an effect of anything.
How then did at one point he says, someone asked him, how does the Maya arise? And he says, it arises through non-inquiry.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good one. He says, we don't know what it is. We don't really know what it is.
That is, we need to understand when he says it arises through non-inquiry, that there are two terms he used in this context. One is avichara, which means non-investigation. The other is pramada. But he also explained that is, Maya is nothing but ego. So to say that ego arises because of avichara, then who is responsible for the avichara? So it is not actually a complete answer. That is the solution. The solution to the problem is vichara. So there is no cause for the rising of ego, because ego is the first cause. It's the cause of all other causes. So there's no cause for the rising of ego, but the solution is vichara.
Right. We don't need to know why the ego rose or how it rose.
If we, as Bhagavan said, if you investigate it, you'll find it never existed. Then the question why it arose becomes redundant.
Right. Of course, it's secondary.
Right. Well, there is no question. I mean,
what never existed can't have arisen.
Yeah. Why was the son of a barren woman born? How was he born?
Yeah. Right.
There's no. How did you manage to draw that square circle?
Right.
Some questions cannot be answered. This is a question that cannot be answered, because if you investigate, Bhagavan sometimes used to say, when people asked him how this ego came into existence or how Maya came into existence, Bhagavan said, first investigate it. If you can find it, bring it to me, and then we can find out how it came into existence. Because if we investigate it, we will not find any such thing, because we seem to be ego only so long as we're looking at anything other than ourselves. When we look at ourselves, there's no ego to be found.
Right. Okay. Right. So it's a misperception, like a mirage.
Yes, but it's more fundamental than that. That is, many people take Bhagavan's teaching very superficially. Because Bhagavan has said there is no such thing as ego, people think, oh, there's no ego, then there's no problem. But Bhagavan has said, if the ego doesn't exist, everything doesn't exist. So long as we're aware of anything other than ourselves, ego seems to exist.
Right,
It doesn't actually exist. It never actually exists, but it seems to exist. And so long as it seems to exist, it brings all these problems with it.
I see.
So we have to investigate it. Since we can get rid of it only by vichara, if you want an answer to how it came into existence, it came into existence because of avichara. So do vichara.
Right.
If you do vichara, you'll find it never actually came into existence. There never was any avichara.
Right. Then what explains the apparent existence of the guru's body and mind? Is that our own projection of our own inner guru?
Yes, that is, guru is nothing but I am, our own self. What we actually are, our real nature is guru.
So there never really was Bhagavan.
Well, no, wait. Because our mind is going outwards, it is necessary for him to appear outside in human form to tell us to turn within. So the function of the external form of a guru is to turn our attention back within, where we will meet the real form of guru. What Bhagavan actually is that which is shining in our heart as I.
I see.
Once a lady devotee, Bhagavan was returning from the cowshed one day, and a lady devotee came up and prostrated and held his feet. And he looked down at her with a smile and asked, "What are you doing?" And she said, "I'm holding my guru's feet." Bhagavan said, "This body is perishable. These feet are perishable. If these feet are the feet of your guru, you're going to be disappointed one day, because these feet will go along with his body. The feet of your guru is that which is shining in you as I. Cling to those feet. They alone will save you." So the function of the outward form of guru is to turn us within. So Bhagavan is not that outward form. He is only that which is shining in us as I. But because of our outward going mind, it's necessary for him to appear in that form to tell us to turn back within. So that's why Bhagavan gave an analogy. There's a belief, but elephants are so afraid of lions that if a lion appears in an elephant's dream, the shock will make the elephant wake up. So Bhagavan said the guru is the lion in the dream's elephant. In the elephant's dream. So the lion is unreal. That is, the name and form of guru are unreal. But they bring about the real awakening. Just like the unreal lion makes the elephant come to this supposedly real waking state, seemingly real waking state.
Right. So this is like the inner guru, or God's, God's a funny term, but reality's way of reaching into our dream. Is by creating the appearance of an external guru.
Yes.
Ah, yeah, okay. Very enlightening. Were you always able to explain this way?
That is, we are all on a journey. As we go deeper within, these things become clearer and clearer. Yes, even when I was with Sadhu Om, I was beginning to understand these things more and more clearly. And I used to question him relentlessly. And I found the more I questioned him, the deeper the answers were that I got were. So I never tired of questioning him, because I always knew I'd be getting more gems and things would become deeper and clearer. When he left the body, that was now, 36 years ago. I was in my late 20s. I was coming up 30. I felt like an orphan. That is because he was, for more than 8 years, he was such a central part of my life. And I learned so much from him. First and foremost, I learned to love Bhagavan wholeheartedly, because he had such all-consuming love for Bhagavan. His love was infectious. And also, my ability to understand Bhagavan's teachings became far, far deeper because of my contact with him. So when he left the body, I felt orphaned, so to speak. After some time, it became clear to me that even his departure was for my good, because we have to, we can't always be looking for answers outside ourselves. We need to begin to, the more we look within, the more things will become clear from within. So though he passed away 36 years ago, I have been continuing, my understanding has continued to deepen. So if you read, for example, there's a book I've written, Happiness and the Art of Being, that was written some, about 15 years ago? Well, it was actually published 15 years ago. It was written before that. I've been writing it. A lot of it was, when people ask me questions, I would answer, and then I would write down, make notes of the sort of answers that I gave. So that was how it came into existence. So it was written over quite a long period of time. But if you read that book now, you will find my ability to express this, and even my understanding, is less than it is now. So, I mean, we continue to learn. The more we put Bhagavan's teachings into practice, the more we learn. That is, I am still learning from works like Nāṉ Ār, Who Am I, Uladunapti over 40 verses, Upadesham. They're all Bhagavan's original writings. I'm still learning from these, though I have been studying them now for more than 45 years. I'm still learning from them. How am I learning from them? Because the more we put it into practice, the more we are able to recognize the depth and clarity in what Bhagavan is saying. That is, the words are the same, but the significance of the words grows deeper and clearer to the extent to which we put his teachings into practice. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So undoubtedly I'm able to express things more clearly now than I could even a year ago, or 10 years ago, or 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. It inevitably, the more we follow this path, the clearer it becomes to us. And also, I am also benefited by answering people's questions, because people ask me questions. This compels me to think more deeply about it. And the more I think about Bhagavan's teaching, the more clarity dawns on me.
That makes sense.
But the absolute key is practice, because without practice, we cannot, our understanding of Bhagavan's teachings will be very, very superficial and will not be clear and accurate or deep without practice. So practice is the absolute key. To the extent we practice it, only to that extent we'll be able to understand it.
Right. That makes sense. I just want to get back to one point about which you answered, but I'm still a bit. I just need to go over it again. What's happened is that I've started. There are various possible things I could do to get better, physically and mentally, and part of me doesn't care anymore.
Yeah,
I just like, what is the point? And part of me. Well, there's that tendency, I've lost interest. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm kind of just hoping this thing will be over, start a new incarnation, or if somehow I think of God upon death, then perhaps I'll be free of it all. But
God,
there's another part.
The God you should think of at death is that which is shining in you as I.
Understanding that. Yeah, that's a really, whatever our conversation has led to is I have I can't explain it really. I don't know how to explain it exactly, but something occurred at that point. You probably recognized it. It's kind of coming and going where I'm aware. It's not really I'm aware. It's this sense of I don't have words for it, but I don't know exactly. I mean, I could put words onto it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of coming and going, you know, because my mind is going in and out of a Visaya Vasana and just the experience of being. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. It's not really interesting. It's amazing, you know.
Yeah.
So you can sort of see me shifting in and out of.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So when I think about my health, my health, whatever that means.
Yes.
Well, the ego, body, mind, health.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have many choices, you know, because it's a very unexplainable disease. There's all these different things I could do or not do.
Yes.
Are you saying, like, for example, there's a program I started that's helped a lot of people, but I don't find myself really wanting to do it. Could I be resisting doing something that Bhagavan wants me to do?
If it is if Bhagavan wants you to do it, you'll be made to do it. That is, he will, if it is your destiny to do that and to derive the benefit of it, he will make you do it. You don't have to bother about it. The only thing you have to bother about is clinging to I am. That's your only responsibility.
Okay.
That is the only responsibility Bhagavan has given.
Okay, so
clinging to I am entails letting go of everything else. So leave everything to him, cling to I am.
Cling to I am. So then with all these possibilities of something that I could do, if it's meant to happen,
it will happen. It will happen.
It will happen.
Yeah. Don't interfere. Leave it. If tomorrow morning you get up and there's an urge to, okay, I'll start this program or whatever it is, that's not your responsibility. Leave that to him. Your responsibility is to cling to I am.
Okay. So then if I have an urge to get this treatment, then I pursue it. And if it doesn't happen, it wasn't.
You don't pursue it. Your body, let the body and mind pursue it if they're driven to pursue it. You should be pursuing only I am.
Oh, I see. So you're saying that whole activity of body and mind, Nisargadatta said this, he says, let the body and mind do what they're going to do. They're going to do whatever they do.
Yes. But the thing is, for body and mind, as I said earlier, they're being driven by two forces. One force is prarabdha, or God's will, Bhagavan's will. The other is our will, our Visaya Vasanas. So these two forces are if we rise as ego by attending to anything other than ourselves, we come under the sway of our vasanas, and we inevitably do actions accordingly. That is interfering. That's not going to change what's happening, but that's interfering in the work of grace. Our task is not to interfere. By how to avoid interfering? By clinging to I am. By clinging to I am, we are not allowing the mind to go outwards and thereby bringing about the subsidence of ego. To the extent that ego subsides, grace can thereby can do whatever it has to do unobstructed. Grace is always helping us, but we are obstructing it by rising as ego.
We're only obstructing it psychologically.
Yes, but our very allowing our attention to go away from ourselves towards anything else is where all the obstruction starts. So don't allow your attention to go towards anything else. Cling only to I am. To the extent that we cling to I am and thereby prevent our attention going to other things, we are refraining from interfering.
Okay. So
but even our interference is not going to change anything externally. We can interfere as much as we like.
It just will create more suffering for ourselves.
We just creates more suffering for ourselves, and it perpetuates the endless cycle of karma, the wheel of karma. We're keeping it spinning.
Well, that gets confusing because here's where I get confused by that. So if what's going to happen is going to happen.
Yes.
And what isn't going to happen isn't going to happen.
Yes.
I mean, that's clear.
Yeah.
How do we create karma? Is it through our Visaya Vasanas and our mental
Visaya Vasanas, yes.
It's only our mental activity.
Well, the mind, when you allow your mind to go out to pursue, to follow it, if you allow your mind to be swayed by its Visaya Vasanas,
right,
that will result not only in mental activity, speech activity, and bodily activity.
Right.
So whatever action we do, driven by our will, is
karma created.
Is what is called agamya. That is a fresh karma we are creating.
Okay.
But these two things, as I say, there are two things driving. There's destiny or God's will and our will.
Correct. Yeah.
Often our will is in line with, it happens to coincide with his will. So supposing it's his will that you follow some program to get better, at least to some extent. If you are clinging to I am and you leave it entirely to him, you're not creating any fresh karma. But if you are doing that with great enthusiasm, yes, I must get better. This is great. I found this new way that is going to make me better. I'm going to do it. It may be your destiny to do that, but your liking to do it is what is creating the fresh karma. So even while doing the actions that we're destined to do, we can still be creating fresh karma, because the fresh karma is created at the level of vasanas. That's where it all starts.
Okay, I see.
And as soon as we allow our attention to go away from ourselves, we are yielding ourselves to the vasanas. We are acting under their sway.
I see. Okay. So then, the sense that I have of, I don't really care if I get better. I don't know that I'm ever going to get better. Not me, but the body, mind, my situation, circumstances. Yeah. The degree to which I'm detached from any outcome around that by clinging to myself, that doesn't create fresh karma.
No.
But if I'm drawn to do something, and I do it dispassionately, like the fruits of the.
But we need to be very, very careful. There's something that in India is called smasana vairagya. Smasana means a cremation ground.
Right.
If someone very dear to you has just died and you've gone to a cremation ground, you'll come home feeling vairagya. Oh, what is all this life? It's all nothing. But after a few days, you forget about it, you jump back in. That is not real vairagya. It is just the temporary effect. So it's easy to delude ourselves into thinking we have vairagya. Bhagavan has given a very deep...
it's detachment, right?
Yeah, detachment or desirelessness. Bhagavan has given a very deep definition of vairagya in Who Am I? In the 11th paragraph, he says, not attending to anything other than ourselves is vairagya, or nirasa, which means desirelessness. They two words mean more or less the same. Not leaving oneself is jnana. In truth, these two are the same.
Right.
So true vairagya is clinging only to I, and thereby not allowing our attention to go towards anything else.
Okay.
So, but if instead of that, if you just think, I can't be bothered, I've tried so many things, I'm tired of all this, that is not true vairagya. Because you're still allowing your attention to go outwards and wallow in the misery of your condition.
Right. Okay. Then are you suggesting that all this would simply, if I'm only attending to myself,
yes,
then whatever arises to do will be done, but I won't be interested in it?
If you're attending only to yourself, you'll hardly even notice it. To the extent you're attending to yourself, you won't notice it. If you notice it happening, your attention to that extent is going away from yourself. That is, during the state of practice, we are never, our aim is, now our attention is facing outwards normally. Normal condition of ego is to face outwards, away towards other things. We are now trying to turn our attention back to ourselves. So figuratively speaking, we're trying to turn 180 degrees away from other things, back towards ourselves. So very different degrees of self-attentiveness. If we say turn our attention 10 degrees or 20 degrees or 90 degrees or something.
Partially, yeah.
We are becoming more clearly aware of ourselves, but there's still the lingering awareness of other things. The closer we come to 180 degrees, the more other things will recede into the background and we hardly notice them. When we turn the full 180 degrees, even for a moment, that is the end. We are finished. That is the moth that's been going round and round the flame finally falls into it. It's finished.
I see.
So it takes just one moment of because when we turn 180 degrees, our attention is focused entirely on ourselves and withdrawn from everything else. So, and that at that moment, we are aware of nothing other than ourselves. The state in which we are aware of nothing other than ourselves is the state of pure awareness, which is what we actually are. So like as soon as we turn...
Like in deep sleep, but awake.
Yes. We can say that in a way, yes. But the difference is, in deep sleep, we fall asleep because we're tired. And after the ego has subsided, after the ego has sunk back into its source, what remains is just pure awareness. So the pure awareness shines forth as a result of a subsidence of ego. In order to bring about the destruction of ego, ego itself needs to experience that pure awareness. So we as ego need to turn our attention back towards ourselves. But as soon as ego experiences pure awareness, it is swallowed thereby.
I see.
In sleep, ego doesn't experience pure awareness because ego is already subsided.
Right. So ego is apparently present, but
ego must be present. Ego must be present, but as soon as it experiences that pure awareness, it is thereby swallowed, and that is the end of it. That is the story over.
It's not like a moment. It happens in a moment.
Yeah, it happens in a moment.
So there's all this.
Once it has happened, it is clear nothing has ever happened.
Right.
It is not a happening. It is the ending of all happenings, because all happenings begin with the rising of ego and they end with the dissolution of ego. Because once ego is dissolved, once we're clearly aware of ourselves as we actually are, it will be clear to us that we've always been that. We've never been anything else. That is why the final state is ajata. There never was any ego. There never was any rising of any kind whatsoever.
Like a movie just stopped.
No, the movie never existed.
Oh, we just thought we saw a movie. Just like a dream. We had a dream. The dream never really existed.
Bhagavan says in the first verse of Ēkāṉma Pañcakam, taking the body to be I, taking innumerable births, and finally knowing and being oneself is like waking up from a dream of wandering all over the world. But even that is not the absolute, that is said from that is said for our benefit. From our benefit, it seems like that. That when ego comes to an end, then it'll be like the ending of a dream. But once ego actually comes to an end, it's clear there never was any dreamer. And in the absence of any dreamer, there never was any dream.
Right.
So the ultimate truth is, but nothing has ever happened. There never was any rising of ego, and therefore there never was any dream or any world or anything.
That's remarkably relaxing to consider.
Yes. That's why Bhagavan said, if it was something, supposing actually ego is destroyed, then we've attained something. Bhagavan said, if anything is attained, it will be lost. Right. The reason jnana is not lost is because it's ever present. Even now we're in that state of jnana. It's just because of our avichara, because of our looking at other things, we seem to be not in that state of pure awareness.
Mm-hmm.
When we as ego turn our attention 180 degrees back to face ourselves alone, then we will recognize ourself as pure awareness, and it'll be clear that we were always only that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Bhagavan said, ultimately, there is no such thing as ego. But it's not, there's no use in saying there's no such thing as ego so long as we're aware of other things, because what is aware of other things is ego.
Right.
The ego doesn't actually exist, but it seems to exist.
It appears to exist. Right.
And that's why all Bhagavan, and it is the root of all appearances, because all other appearances appear only in the view of ego. So ego is Bhagavan has diagnosed for what is the problem. The problem is ego. Get rid of ego, the problem is solved. And ego is nothing but a false awareness of ourselves. An awareness of ourselves as something other than what we actually are. So to get rid of ego, all we need to do is to be aware of ourselves as we actually are. And to be aware of ourselves as we actually are, we need to attend only to ourselves, to the exclusion of all other things.
And in your case, do you find yourself, there seems to be, on one hand, there's no progression on this path. It's like you reach this point where there's a 180-degree turn.
Yeah. Yes.
Ego, there's a realization that ego never existed.
But there is progression towards that 180 degrees.
There is a progression.
Yeah, because we are able to turn only to the extent to which our sattvasana, our love to know and to be what we actually are, is strengthened, and our Visaya Vasanas are accordingly weakened. So long as our Visaya Vasanas are strong, we cannot, even if we turn 190 degrees, that's a big achievement. Of course, we can't measure how many degrees but it's just for the sake of
imaginary scale. Yeah. Right.
So there is definitely a path to follow, and there's a progress along that path.
So then, okay, well then.
But when we reach the end of a path, then
there was never any path.
There was never any path, and there was never anyone following it.
And it only seems hard because we're so identified with the Visaya Vasanas and the ego as being our true identity.
Yes.
And there's an active force preventing us from wanting to go. But
that active force is nothing outside of ourselves. It's our own liking for other things.
Right. And tendency towards those things.
Yes.
The liking of it, and then the habit of either disliking it or wanting more of it.
Yeah, but likes and dislikes arise because of our vasanas.
And the way to get rid of those is just to be as the vichara.
Vichara, yes. As Bhagavan said, by practicing in this manner, the strength of the mind to abide in its source increases.
I guess there's something appealing about the thought that even though there doesn't appear to be much progress, there is, like I've noticed for myself, that I go in and out of being very disturbed by the situation to hardly aware of it to not really caring, which before I was just completely immersed in it.
Yes, yes.
You know, I was immersed in life and career and all this other stuff. Now, after decades, I somehow survived this thing and the body didn't kill it. The body mind didn't kill the body.
Mm.
And there does seem to be more access to what's always present.
Yes.
And less attachment to things being the way I want them to be.
Yep, yep.
So that would be the progress.
Yeah. I mean, we can all, each in our own way, we can see this. That is basically, if we are truly following this path, we will be more content. We'll be more detached. We'll be less concerned about what happens.
Right. So how do you handle the people in your life who are completely not, I mean, they may be good people, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I understand that my attention towards them is what's giving them power in my life.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So then how do you appear to someone without them thinking like you don't care anymore? You know, it's like, you know, like you got to kind of play the game.
Yes. That outwardly we have to, yes. Sometimes it is said the spiritual path is we're playing
a role.
You're playing a double game, so to speak. I mean, you've got outwardly, you continue just as like anyone else. You seem to take interest in the things that other people are taking interest in. But if you're really following this path, you'll be more and more indifferent to these things. But you also won't have any desire to show your indifference. So it's not a conflict. I mean, there's no conflict in it. We can. It's almost like we're living a double life. There's the outward life.
That's just what the body mind does automatically.
Yes.
Jiva does automatically as they're just about being compassionate towards the world.
Because the work the spiritual work is all internal. So nobody outside need even know that we are following the spiritual path.
Right. Okay. So then I'm involved in a lovely friend who's got a lot of she's like a lot of Visaya Vasanas.
Yes.
And wants me to be interested. I'm not really interested, but I'm not interested.
Yes. There's also the thing of compassion. That is, the deeper we go in this path, the more compassion we will feel for others, the more empathy we will feel for others.
The empathy towards their situation of experiencing themselves as ego and thus
yes. Okay. So we'll be more sensitive, and we will respond in a more sensitive way to their needs.
Oh, I see.
So we will seem to be taking interest in the things that they are taking interest in, even though deep down we are not interested.
Because we're focusing in on
yes
on the I am.
Because what actually is happening, if we're following this path correctly, we are detaching ourselves from this person we seem to be. So let this person we seem to be act in an appropriate way in the world. But we are withdrawing more and more within, separating ourselves from this person.
Right. From this form. of
yes,
this.
yes, yes.
Right.
This really form of 5 sheaths, or not just this physical form, the mind, yes.
I just call it the jiva.
Yeah.
Would that be a correct word? The jiva?
Well, jiva actually, in the sense in which Bhagavan used the term, jiva means ego, which is, ego is not any of these 5 sheaths. Ego is that which takes these 5 sheaths to be itself.
Okay. So we're paying attention to these 5 sheaths because they seem very real to the person.
Because they seem to be us. That is, what is real is only ourself. Since these 5 sheaths seem to us to be ourself, they seem to be real. And since they are part of this world, the whole world seems to be real.
Oh, I see. So we're creating these other people.
Yes, exactly. This is a dream. This is a dream. And everything in the dream seems real only because we take ourselves to be one of the people in that dream.
Okay. So then we're not really being compassionate towards someone else. We're being compassionate for the state of the consciousness that we're inhabiting.
Yes, yes, because we see ourselves in that other person.
So it's really, we're being compassionate towards the suffering that's being experienced through the ignorance, no matter where it's coming from.
Yes, yes, yes.
So it's really just compassion towards the ignorance.
Yeah,
and the suffering.
Yes.
Not towards a person.
Yeah, in a sense, yes. But I mean,
but in a realistic sense, there's a person there.
Yeah.
Suffering.
I don't think we have to analyze. Sometimes when we analyze things too much, we just create confusion. The thing is, the more we follow this path, the more naturally we will feel. I mean, compassion, I think, is the best word for it. I mean, we can't,
well, kindness, I think.
Yeah, kindness, or it's very difficult to find an appropriate word, but we'll be very sensitive to the needs of others.
Right. And also to the needs of our own body-mind?
Yes, that's also another.
Oh, right.
Stuart is, for you, Stuart is as much another as Michael.
Right. Then who is it who's having the kindness? Is that still
the one who now mistakes himself to be Stuart?
Oh, okay. So the fake,
the kindness and love is coming from within that one. That one who now feels I am Stuart, within that, there is an I am. That is the source of the kindness and the love and the compassion.
I see. It doesn't come from the apparent 5 sheath
no
of existence.
No.
Oh. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I think it all makes sense. I'm not sure. Well, I don't know what I'm not sure of.
And it makes more and more sense the more we cling to I am.
Mm-hmm.
That everything becomes clearer and clearer to the extent to which we follow this simple practice of being self-attentive.
And the self-attentiveness is just that state of being aware of one's
being.
Yeah, existence, I was going to word.
Yeah.
So that sums up the entire practice, is just being aware that one exists.
Yes.
That
I am.
That I am, right,
yes.
To put it. That seems doable. I don't know.
It is the easiest of all things, according to Bhagavan. It seems difficult only because of our strong inclination to go outwards.
Right.
But we can overcome that inclination only by this persevering in this practice.
Right. Hmm. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, it's good to connect.
Mm.
Appreciate your generosity.
Wow, that's all Bhagavan's doing, not mine.
Okay, your surrender.
even that is his doing, not mine.
Also I just so tired of it all.
Yes, yes.
I don't know, just all the futility, all the endless, purposeless suffering.
Yes.
Was Sadhu Om very quiet often? Or just in terms?
Yeah. Outwardly, he lived quite an active life. That is, they were always, often there were visitors, people coming and asking questions and things. When there weren't visitors, there was always work to be done. I mean, he was editing thousands of verses of Mudgana. There were other books. People wanted him to want his books to be printed. So there was always book-related work going on, and there were other things. People would come with other problems, but they would need help with one thing or another. So his life was quite an active life, but inwardly there was, I believe, a silence.
Well, you could say the same for Bhagavan.
Yes. Yeah.
You built a whole ashram. You know what I mean? Or an ashram was built and building.
Yeah.
No, we're very lucky. So tired of carrying this burden,
Yeah.
For nothing. Some kind of emotional release. That's a little embarrassing.
No, not at all. Not at all. I fully sympathize with you.
You fully sympathize. Was there something else?
No, no, I'm just going to say, but there is a way out of all this.
Well, that's part of what I'm feeling is that, it's like I can stop trying to control everything and just let it.
But the more we learn to let go, the greatest of all arts is the art of letting go. The greatest achievement in life is complete surrender.
Strange, because you have no idea what's going to happen then. I haven't But it feels it, even though I don't know what's going to happen, I just have to assume that whatever needs to happen will.
Mm.
And what can't happen won't. And so what else can you do?
Exactly. That is what Bhagavan taught us, is a great burden of our head. If we really understand what he's taught us, there's nothing we can do to change anything as far as external things are concerned. The only change we can bring about is within ourselves, by turning within.
Right.
Turning back towards I.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's like I don't intellectually know that's true, but I can feel that it's, I just
yes.
It's sort of obviously true,
Yeah.
Definitely freaks. I can see that it freaks the ego out. It's like, what?
Yes.
Who's going to take care of everything?
Yes.
And I guess the answer is I don't really know, but me being concerned about it hasn't helped anything.
No.
That's clear to me, whether or not it's true that, the theory of what will happen, what won't happen. But what's clearly true is that it's more relaxing and peaceful to let go of that and to focus on existence.
Yes.
That's self-evident.
Yes.
Do you think that faith builds do you think that faith builds as you just let go? And
yes, as I said, what I understand by the term faith is a deep inner clarity, and that does grow as we go deeper in this path.
A deep inner clarity. Well, isn't the part of the deep inner clarity is that everything's working in a benevolent way to bring us to this state of freedom?
Yes, exactly. What is infinitely benevolent.
But allows us to suffer that we would be drawn inward to the self.
Yes,
and it's benevolence.
Because that is, benevolence means wanting what is best for us.
Right,
and what is best for us is only, as I said earlier, whatever, even if we get all our difficulties are removed and everything seems favorable, still we cannot be satisfied. We cannot be satisfied by anything.
No.
Because our real nature is infinite satisfaction. So any satisfaction that is less than infinite doesn't satisfy us.
Right.
Cannot satisfy us.
Yeah, because it's our nature to be infinitely satisfied.
Yes.
So any object that appears to satisfy us is only a temporary experience of what we essentially are.
Yes.
And we know that at some level and realize that these are all just toys for, or, creations for temporary, impermanent creations. Whew. It's a lot of something. Focus, maybe? No, Not really. It's not really a lot of focus. It's
love.
Yeah. It's a love for what is real.
Yes. Love for being that.
Which is so much better.
Yes.